Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. It's time again. You can see Zach Boren over there for a silver bullet breakdown. It's BuckIQ here. Ohio State, another win, still unbeaten. It's another 9-point win over a Big Ten team. Maybe not the prettiest one that Ohio State has ever had, but Zach, I'm pretty sure that you'll take that, especially because the defense gives up 17 points and Ohio State leans on those silver bullets to get it done.
A win is a win, especially in November in Big Ten play. We talked all last week leading up to this game that this Nebraska football team was much better than their record indicated, taking Michigan, Michigan State, Oklahoma, all down to the final snap. This Nebraska team was going to be a tough matchup for Ohio State, but the defense stepped up to the plate even when the offense was faltering and made some big plays down the stretch to secure this win.
Yeah. What do you think has really fueled that, Zach? I know we talk about it here when we break down the defense every single week, but it's now 2 weeks in a row, and you look at really leaning on those guys to deliver, and it's not just the pass rush. It's not just when Steel Chambers gets out there at linebacker. I guess to me, I'm suggesting maybe that all 11 have sort of bought into the scheme when maybe a month ago or 2 months ago they hadn't.
Most definitely. You're 100% correct. And the biggest thing is we've talked about on this silver bullet breakdown for years upon years is reading and reacting. Defense is all about not overthinking, but being comfortable in your position, knowing your assignment, and reading and reacting to the play. You don't have to be perfect, but you've got to get to the football and make the play that needs to be made. And early on in the year, you looked around at this defense, just looked like everyone wasn't on the same page. Guys were overthinking things. Guys were in the wrong place. Guys thought they should have been going this way when they should have been going the other way. Now it's almost like they've simplified the defense, and it might not even be one of those things where it gets simplified. It just might be one of those things where finally there's not as much rotating. Guys feel much more comfortable in their spot. Guys are able to go out there and just play. They have a more firm understanding of what they're supposed to be doing, and they're letting their physical capabilities take over and just play. And that's when you play the best as defense. That's when you play the best as a player, is when you go out there and just don't overthink it and just let your talents go.
What I think is really interesting about this, because we've got that key fourth quarter third down stop or 3-and-out stop that really helped Ohio State clinch that game. But that was in a one-possession game. If that drive goes a different way, maybe Ohio State loses that game. And I'd say that it's a lot easier maybe for them to feel improved and be confident when they have to play, and it's always a 2-possession game or a 3-possession game. Like, you play a lot freer, a lot looser, and maybe it's much easier to perform in that situation. That was a make or break situation where Ohio State had to deliver, and they did.
It was, and that's a huge confidence booster. Early on in the season, this defense would have ran on the field and saying, hey, this is a one-possession game. We got to make a stop. And they kind of would have been looking around like, oh, man, let's see who can step up. Whereas you could just tell on Saturday that one drive where it's like, hey, guys, we need to buck up and freaking make a stop here and come together. And this game's on our shoulders. You could tell they fed off of that confidence. You could tell they fed off of knowing that the game was on their shoulders. And that's what you want out of a defense. You want them to run out every single play saying, hey, doesn't matter what you throw at us, doesn't matter what kind of different motions, whatever it might be, guess what? We're going to stop you. You're not better than us. And I think that's the attitude that you've seen this defense evolve with over the season. And that's what you saw Saturday for sure. Especially late in that game when they knew they needed to make a stop. That defense, instead of tucking their tails and hoping someone make a play, they pinned their ears back and said, all of us are going to do this together and we're going to get off the field.
Got it done. Got another November win. Stayed unbeaten in the Big Ten. Another test coming on Saturday against Purdue in the late afternoon. But before they can get to that, we got to look back at what happened to seal that win over Nebraska. And Zach Boren is going to break it down better than anyone else out there. Let's roll the tape. All right, Zach, you see that score, that time situation, the pressure that was on the Silver Bullets here. These were 3 of the biggest snaps of the game for Ohio State. Really think they delivered in all 3 of them. Let's start with this one. And what do you see here?
Yeah, most definitely. This was gut-crunching time, right? And we talked about this previously. But here, what you're going to see in this series, which I absolutely love, is you're playing some zone coverage, and guys are able to read and react and play off the quarterback's eyes, play off the quarterback's throw. Right here, you obviously see a good pass rush by Zach Harrison there up the field. But what you're going to see is after Martinez throws his football, Bryson Shaw is actually carrying the higher receiver that's actually running a little bit of a flag right here, and he comes off and sees the throw, plays with his eyes, and is able to come back down on this. You see this. You see him come in your picture right there. He's actually covering that guy behind, comes in here, perfect timing, gets his hand on the football. That's perfect zone coverage. You see Seven Banks in his position as well, breaking on this football. This is a great play to start this series.
I wonder, Zach, we talked about this last week, and it happened again. Watching this pass rush that you mentioned from Zach Harrison, it seems unnatural that you'd be able to see somebody's shoulder pads in that back flap there with, they don't just fly up, right? Like, how would a jersey get to that position?
You want to know something? The holding calls are, I'm just appalled. I'm appalled. That's the only word that I can give. If I was Tyreek Smith, I would be throwing a petition to the Big Ten saying, hey, someone needs to throw a flag on the guy that's holding me every single play. And you saw it so many times. Again, you know, there's still pictures that are being passed around on social media where it's just like, how do you miss that? You know, and it's one of those things where the Big Ten needs to finally be like, hey, listen, we need to give these people training year round. Guess what? The head ref, instead of him being a lawyer 8 months out of the year doing whatever he does, guess what? He needs to be in some training to make sure that those 4 months during the season when he's actually officiating big-time ball, he knows what he's doing and making big-time officiating calls.
So now that we got that out of the way, we had to talk about the officiating. It's so bad. But look at this now, just 2nd and 10, and another key situation, another snap where the Buckeyes have to deliver. And Marcus Williamson, as you say all the time, read and react.
I love this. And if you take this back even further, you can see the way Seven Banks and Marcus Williamson are finally understanding what's going on here. Obviously, you see this. This is your typical, hey, outside receiver is going to stretch up. You know, inside receiver is going to show inside, gut outside. But watch Seven Banks right here. Sinks on this. And then he feels the outside receiver getting to the sideline here. Marcus Williamson sees it, but plays the quarterback size, and we're going to see this even better from another angle. Marcus Williamson breaks on this, knows like, hey, I got to help out on that flat defender, but bam, makes a big play right there. Dislodges the football. And, man, he is playing good. You're going to see it great right here. Watch. He's reading the quarterback's eyes, knows he's got to sink, knows that there's 2 receivers out there. He's got to play off of them, feels the flat defender, and then right when the quarterback starts to throw that football, reads his eyes, snaps on it, comes downhill in perfect play. Puts his shoulder pads right on the ball. I mean, you couldn't play that better, Marcus Williamson.
And I think when I brought that up earlier, Zach, with players who bought into the role, bought into the system, I mean, this was a guy – to be completely candid and honest, he was, 1 foot out, almost 2 feet out into the portal after 4 games, trying to think about playing somewhere else for one more season. Said, you know what? I'm committed to this program. I'm committed to the teammates. I'm going to be committed to the defense and to practice moving forward. And it's really shown up in a key role for him that, frankly, would have been hard to imagine in September.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes guys want to feel bad for themselves and think like, hey, I'm not playing because the coaches aren't letting me play and they're playing favoritism or whatever it might be. Marcus Williamson took it upon himself and said, I'm not playing because my practice habits suck, because I'm not performing the way I need to be in games. And guess what? He went back to the drawing board and said, if I practice better, I'm going to play better. If I take care of my body better, I'm going to perform better. And he went back and said, hey, I'm going to recommit myself to this team, recommit myself to myself. And that's what you've been seeing. The dude has been performing great this year.
Yeah. And Nebraska tried to go at him again here on 3rd down. The 85,000 people or so that were left at Memorial Stadium did not like this one. And we talk about the officiating. You always call it like you see it, Zach. I mean, I know you don't want this to be a penalty. Did you see a penalty? Are you okay with the way that they officiated this one?
You want to know something? The only thing I don't think I'm okay with is right here. He gets a little bit too much of him. But after this, I think it's more so that their feet are tangling, right? I think if you call this, you have to call it more so right there than you do actually when the pass gets there. And listen, it's 6 one way, half dozen the other. I think right there, their feet get tangled. You saw that. Marcus Williams, his arms are free. He's not wrapping them. Do I think you could have called PI off of the initial break? Yes, but, now more so than ever, they're letting contact go at before the ball's in the air and whatnot. Granted, I probably would have called it if if roles are reversed, I'd be saying this should be PI, defensive PI. So I'm probably going to say it right here. But at the same time, Marcus Williamson, you want to know something? At some point, you got to know how to play and know how officials are going to officiate the game. And guess what? He knows once the ball's released and the ball's coming that way, the referee's eyes snap to the play of action, right? They might not see that, coming off the line that he's getting jabbed by Marcus Williamson, and Marcus Williamson holds him up at the top of his route a little bit. But he knows, hey, once that ball's in the air and once he's right there, I got to make sure my arms aren't wrapped. I got to make sure I'm playing off of him, and that's what Marcus Williamson does right here.
Yeah, that's the key part where they're really paying attention there. Sometimes it's stuff that you can get away with beforehand, and there was a chance here. Hands off as the ref turns their head and ball sails away. As you said, the feet tangled a little bit. You can't call that as pass interference, in my opinion. But I'll say that they got one right. We can sometimes give the refs credit for that.
We don't like to, but they may have gotten one right.
Occasionally they will. So that got Ohio State off the field there, and Keith, they're down, and this got them out of Lincoln, Nebraska with a win.
Yeah, Steel Chambers, the way he played in the second half, what he brings to this defense is what they've needed all year. And who would have thought, a running back, throughout the whole season, hey, let a guy that probably could have been in the transfer portal says, you want to know something? I'm going to go over the line to the defense side of the ball and get in the linebacker room. And the way this guy has come on this season, he's made this defense so much better. He makes the defense whole. He is constantly running sideline to sideline, doing what he needs to do to be that middle linebacker to make this defense great. And you saw in the second half, the way he elevates this defense, just takes control of it. Listen, it's great. It's like, he finally came full circle with the half targeting call last week against Penn State to now seal the game with this interception. Steel Chambers, hats off to you. And guess what, Steel Chambers, you are going to have to play big the next 3 to 4 weeks because this defense needs you, and this man is taking control.
There you go. That starts on Saturday against Purdue. Zach Boren will, I'm sure, be there early, tailgating, getting ready.
Always.
There you go.
Always.
And then next week, he's going to be right back here with me as we break down another defensive performance for Ohio State. We'll see how it goes against Purdue as the Buckeyes look to stay unbeaten as they did on Saturday against Nebraska. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
For Zach Boren, I am Austin Ward. This has been Lettermen Row, BuckIQ. We will see you next time.